In this video, we are going to do ABO forward and reverse typing and RH typing with the weak D or DU. The procedure can be found on Canvas, and it's called ABO-RH. All right, so I have taken my reagent rack out. It's been sitting out at room temperature for an hour. Now, I have not mixed the reagents, but as far as temperature goes, it's ready to go. I've taken my patient's EDTA tube, spun it down, and here I have the plasma, and here I've already made the 3% red cell suspension. So on our results sheet or our results log, we're going to go ahead and record the patient information. So today is 10/31/14. Our patient is last name Smith, first name John. Previous history? No, patient doesn't have any previous history. ID number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now for our procedure, actually this procedure is broken into 3 parts, but they've all been put together in one document because they're always done together. So starting with step 1 for each procedure, we need to label the tubes. So for each procedure, we need a total, or we need 2, so for a total of 6, 12 by 75 glass test tubes. Now I just found a test tube that has a nick in the top, so we really want to get rid of that. Let's get a new one out. We don't want any sharp edges anywhere. Okay, when it comes to labeling the tubes, of course we have to have some kind of identifier on it, but we're not going to use Smith or even John Smith because, you know, of course there are a lot of Smiths and there may be a lot of John Smiths, so in your facility more than likely you're going to be using the last 3 to 4 numbers of the patient ID. So in this case, we're going to use the last 4 digits of his ID number. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to label every tube as 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now we need to label each tube for the individual test. So what we put on the tube is the name of the reagent that is used. So for our forward typing, we have anti-A, next anti-B. Okay, so for our reverse typing, we have A1 cells, and then B cells. And then for our RH typing, we have D, and then C for control. Okay, now different facilities are going to have different setups for how you put your tubes in your rack. So in this laboratory, what we do is we have all tests that require antisera in the front row, right? That's going to require the patient's red cells. So that would be anti-A and anti-B. That would also be D and C. And then behind, where we have the patient plasma, we're going to be using reagent red cells. So we're going to put all those in the back. All right, let's go ahead and pipette our reagents. Remember the rule of thumb in blood bank that we always pipette clear liquids first. Now I don't say clear reagents, but I say clear liquids because one of the liquids that we're going to be pipetting is the patient plasma, and obviously that's not a reagent. So we're going to go ahead and start with our anti-A. And of course we want to mix, and don't forget we need to mix the dropper as well. So 1 drop. One drop of anti-B. 1 drop of anti-D, and 1 drop of RH control. All right, now let's go ahead in the back row and pipette our clear liquid. So as I said before, that's the patient plasma. Now, when pipetting plasma, we use 2 drops. And we do that because these reagents are very strong. Okay, so we've pipetted all of our clear liquids. Now we want to go ahead and pipette our cells. So we'll start in the front row, and we'll be pipetting the patient's 3% cell suspension. That's 1 drop in each tube. Okay, now the back. Now I haven't mixed these cells this morning, so we're going to go ahead and make sure that the bottles are well mixed. Get all those cells off the bottom. Okay, these are the A1 cells. They'll go, of course, in the A1 tube. Let's get the dropper mixed. And the B cells in the B tube. All right, now it's time to centrifuge, but before we do that, we need to just give a little mix. Okay, we're going to centrifuge for 15 seconds at 3,400 RPMs. Okay, while this is going on here, we can, I'm just going to, on our results log, looking at the antisera, we have anti-A, anti-B. We are not going to be using anti-AB, so we can cross that off. And we are not going to be using, for the reverse typing, the A2 cells, so we can cross that off. Okay, now remember, rule of thumb, we're reading these tubes one at a time in the mirror and recording the results immediately after we've read each tube. We don't read all the tubes and then try to remember all of our results and then record them. So this is the A1. Okay, so it looks like we have a 4+ button there. So on our results log here, we'll put 4+. Okay, anti-B, kind of tricky here getting it in view for you guys to, to look at in the mirror. Okay, so that's coming off smoothly, and I don't see any kind of aggregation of cells. So that is a negative, which we will record as 0. Okay, our D. Okay, once again, I don't see any kind of aggregation. It looks like a smooth cell suspension. So over here under D, we'll record that as 0 or negative. Okay, let's go ahead and do our control. Okay, again, smooth suspension, so that's negative for the control. All right, let's go ahead and do our reverse typing. So here we have the A1 cells. Okay, again, smooth cell suspension. So A1 here with the cells is negative. Okay, our last tube, our B. Okay, so now this is certainly not a 4+ reaction here. I see, some small chunks here, as well as some larger ones, and a pretty clear background. So we're going to call that a 2+. Okay, so our forward and reverse typing is completed. Now our patient RH so far is negative, which means that we're going to go ahead and do the week D or the DU testing. So next what we're going to go on to here is we can throw away our ABRH. So to our RH tubes, we're going to add 2 drops of we use and enhance, which is also known as LIST. Now this of course is not PEG, which is something, has a similar function, but it is different. So 2 drops to each. Okay, just a slight mix, and then you can't see it here, but I have a heating block. And we're going to go ahead and incubate those for 15 minutes. All right, our 15 minutes has passed, and I have gone and washed our tubes. Now, you're probably going to be working in a facility that has a cell washer, but here at the Wenatchee Valley College Student Lab, we do it manually, which is kind of a laborious process, so I've spared you that. So in our procedure for week D, we are at step 12, add 2 drops of anti-human globulin. Okay, so we know that this is basically the IAT, the indirect antiglobulin test, right? Okay, we've added it. We're going to mix and spin here. We're looking to see if those patient red cells have IgG on the surface. Okay, so here we have D. Okay, now normally when I would be at the mirror, I would be closer to it, but I'm just this far away because I have the camera and I'm trying to read the reaction in the camera. Okay, that looks negative. It looks pretty smooth. I don't see any aggregation of any kind. Okay, so our DU here is negative, so 0. Let's go ahead and take a look at our control. Okay, once again, I don't see anything happening there. It looks pretty smooth. All right, now the last thing we need to do is whenever we have a negative after the addition of the anti-human globulin, is we have to verify that that we've done the IAT correctly, and we do that by adding our check cells, are also called Coombs check cells. Now, on some result logs, it'll be listed as CC, which it is on ours, or CCC. Okay, we'll go ahead and add 1 drop to each tube. Mix slightly. And centrifuge for 15 seconds. Okay, now for this to be valid, these results, these tubes need to be at least 2+. So this is our, okay, we got some big chunks here, some smaller chunks. The background does seem to be getting a little bit cloudy, so we will call this a 2+. So here we have. And now our control. Okay, similar to the last one, we've got small chunks, we've got a little bit of cloudiness in the background, but I'm going to call that a 2+. All right, so all of our testing is checked out. Now what we need to do is interpret. So with the ABO, we look at our forward typing and we have only the A. In our reverse typing, we should have the B cells. Now I know this is not the strongest reaction, but it's sufficient. So we're going to go ahead and call this patient A. And the RH testing all the way through week D was negative. Now we are going to write neg. We don't just put 2 slash marks or an equal sign to indicate negative. We're going to write out neg. And the last thing is we're going to put our initials. Okay, finished. That was ABO RH with the week D typing.